As a result of the pandemic and the lack of semiconductors, fewer cars were produced. The demand for used cars in Great Britain is growing rapidly. After the end of the COVID-19 lockdown in Great Britain, the used car trade has soared to a record level. The industry association SMMT announced in London that around 2.2 million vehicles were sold between April and June. That is the highest known value in this period. Compared to the same period of the previous year, sales more than doubled compared to the pre-COVID year 2019. They are up 6.6%. The reason for the enormous demand is the low number of new cars, according to the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, the SMMT. As a result of the pandemic and the global shortage of semiconductors, car manufacturers could have produced significantly less in the past few months. This is welcome news for the industry, said SMMT boss Mike Hawes. A lively used car market is also necessary to maintain good resale values, which in turn support new car purchases. More and more drivers are turning to used cars as the shortage of supply continues to affect the new car market and the need for personal mobility increases, said Hawes. And he says, people remain suspicious of public transport when they return to work. Almost all used cars, 96.4%, were conventionally motorized according to the SMMT. Sales of used electric vehicles and hybrids tripled. However, the increase here was well below the proportion of alternative drives in new vehicles. Importers of second-hand cars in Malta said on Tuesday that the government had dismissed their suggestions to negotiate a derogation from the EU-UK Brexit agreement that would have considered Malta as a disadvantaged state due to the norms and traffic rules inherited from the UK, and thus the need to import right-hand drive cars. The importers, grouped in the Malta Car Importers Association, said they had held a meeting with Finance Minister Clyde Caruana and Transport Minister Ian Borg regarding added fees and bureaucracy caused by Brexit. Recent official figures showed a sharp decline in the imports of second-hand cars, which used to come mostly from the UK. The figures showed that for the first time in years, imports of new cars were higher than used car imports. The association said it expressed concern that most of its 75 members are in a dire financial state and require intervention from the government due to imbalance caused in the local market. I just wonder why they don't import from Japan then, like the Irish. The MCIA Executive Committee said it put forward proposals to address the current situation, including the derogation, but it was immediately dismissed by the government, stating that the European Commission would not be forthcoming on this matter. No, because we have a trade deal with Japan, so there is an alternative. Even though the Executive Committee insisted to initiate formal discussion, the position from government remained unchanged, they said. Also discussed were adjustments to value-added tax. The government delegation agreed that efforts would be made to ensure that a double taxation situation does not occur. The government also agreed that it will request an opinion on whether rules of origin apply for goods originating from EU country, sold to the UK and then resold back to EU member states. I can answer that. It's yes. Should this be the case, according to the free trade agreement with the UK, there would be zero tariffs and zero quotas on goods that comply with the appropriate rules of origin. My answer was no. Damn it. No, they don't regard re-imported stuff as fitting with the rules of origin. With an expansion of the travel lists and quarantine rules scrapped for the double vaccinated return from France, more travelers may be planning to hit the road to Europe in the coming weeks or months. But in a post-Brexit world, some things have changed since British drivers were last on the continent, and with lockdowns and travel restrictions in place since the start of this year. Only now are many drivers discovering what those new rules mean for business trips and holidays. Motoring expert Joel Kempson from comparison site Uswitch said, "For Brits, driving in the EU has for many years been straightforward. Once you were used to driving on the right-hand side of the road, you were free to drive through Europe. However, now the UK has left the EU, driving into Europe is not as simple as it once was. If you're considering taking the car to Europe in the next few weeks or months and don't want to get caught out while traveling, there are some things you might need to know. Are UK driving licenses still valid in Europe after Brexit? Driving licenses issued in the UK are still valid when driving in EU member states. However, if you are one of the estimated 3,000 drivers in the UK still using an old paper license and haven't yet taken out a photocard upgrade, you will also need an international driving permit to drive abroad in many EU countries. If in doubt, government advice is to check with the embassy of the country you are visiting to acquire the most up-to-date rules. If you are still driving with a paper license, you will need an international driving permit for Europe. The permit is required in 27 EU countries as well as Switzerland, Norway, Iceland and Liechtenstein. There are 3 types of permits and it's crucial to make sure you have the correct one. Lease company Nationwide Vehicle Contracts warns that being caught behind the wheel without the correct EDP could risk a fine, a court summons or having a vehicle confiscated. A 1926 IDP is only required if you wish to drive through or in Liechtenstein. A 1949 IDP is for Cyprus, Iceland, Malta and Spain. And the third, a 1968 IDP, is for all other EU and EEA countries. IDPs cost £5.50, last 3 years and can be bought from most post offices. If you are flying to Europe but plan to hire a car on arrival, it would also be worth just double checking that no car hire company requires an IDP, regardless of whether your license is a paper version or a photocard. Because of special post-Brexit arrangement, the UK has one with the Irish Republic, says Nationwide Vehicle Contracts. British drivers travelling to Ireland do not require a special driving permit beyond their license. Keith Hawes, director of Nationwide Vehicle Contracts, says, as holidays resume, understanding the new rules for driving is crucial. He explained, things are slowly but surely returning to something approaching, if not normality, than a world that's more familiar. This means for those wishing to go to specific places, summer holidays are back on the cards. But travelers need to be aware of how much the world has changed, and not just due to the pandemic either. Not everyone will manage to get away this summer, but if people do, we want to make sure they aren't left unawares or unprepared when driving in Europe, he says. Your driving license and possibly an IDP are not the only documents your trip to Europe will require. Comparison site Uswitch is reminding motorists that they will be required to carry a V5C logbook with them if driving a vehicle they own. Alternatively, if the vehicle you're using is hired or leased, you'll need a VE103 to prove you're allowed to take it out of the UK. This legal document acts as an alternative to the V5C logbook and contains details of the car such as its registration number, make and model, and also the details of the person leasing the vehicle and the length of the contract that has been taken out. Now that the UK has left the EU, you can no longer travel with an EU car sticker. From now until the end of September, outlines Uswitch, you need a GB sticker that is clearly displayed to drive in the EU unless your number plate has one on it already. If your vehicle has an EU, England, Scotland or Wales flag alongside a GB mark on your number plate, then you will also need a GB sticker or can run the risk of a fine from the local authorities. However, if you are planning on driving in Spain, Malta or Cyprus, says Joel Kempson from the comparison site, you will need a separate GB sticker displayed regardless of what is on your number plate. And if you are traveling after September 28th, you will need to buy a new UK number plate or ensure a UK sticker is visible on the rear of your vehicle rather than a GB one. One of the most popular driving holiday destinations, France, has a number of existing laws it's also worth reminding yourself of. While not Brexit related, it's important to remember for safety reasons, all cars on French roads must carry on board a warning triangle and have a high-vis jackets though to be worn in an emergency. It's the same in Germany, by the way. The French also expect all drivers to carry a breathalyzer kit at all times. Disposable breathalyzers are readily available, and it's recommended that you carry 2 of these so that if one is used, you can continue on a journey with a spare. And there's one thing they didn't talk about, and that's if you are a British but resident in the EU. In this case, your driving license is not valid anymore and you can't drive a car. You need a driving license from the country you are an immigrant in. I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.